Hi there. Hope you've had a great St. Patrick's Day. I wanted to read a book to you. It's called Just Plain Patrick's Day. And if you look inside, here's the cover of it. And if you look inside, here it is. It says to Patrick, March 1994, love, Mom and Dad. That would have been Uncle Patrick, and he was 7 years old and a few months. So this book was for him. And it's Patrick's Day. Patrick Murphy sat in the heather. Connell lay beside him, and here is Connell. He is Patrick's puppy. Way up high, clouds scooted. A rainbow climbed the sky. Way down below, the winding streets of the town misted and gleamed. Look, Connell, said Patrick, that's where my parade marches every year. Connell barked and pushed his nose against Patrick's arm. Patrick scratched the dog's ears. I've been thinking, Connell, ever since I was little, my parade has been the same. I'd like to see a change or two. I don't think anybody would mind. After all, it is my parade. It isn't for Sean or Brennan or Matthew Lee, and even Dad doesn't have a special day all to himself. Just me, Patrick's Day. Connell sneezed and scratched his own ears. Patrick watched the rainbow climb higher. If you're a special person, Connell, with your own special day, there are certain things you have to do, whether you want to or not. I always go to bed without fussing. I take a bath every day. I help. Uh-oh, Connell, we've errands to run. I'll race you down into town. In and out of all the shops he went, Connell at his heels. At the fishmonger's, Patrick whistled O'Flynn's favorite song. O'Flynn sang along just off key. It's not every boyo who can and will whistle the rising of the moon whenever he's asked, said O'Flynn. Patrick smiled at mean old Mrs. Fitzgibbon, who never smiled at all. She just swung her cane at the ordinary boys who hooted and hollered and spilled down the street. Patrick patted Mrs. Moran's fat tabby, Mab. Remember, Connell, he said, Mab's not for chasing. Soon the packages were higher than his head. Even Connell carried one. We've remembered everything, Patrick said, walking tall, and I was proud of you. Mrs. Moran says you're special too. Now, what about my parade, Connell? I'm tired of just green parade. Would a little change be too much to ask? When Dad gets home, I'll be asking him. Before supper, there was the trash to take out, the table to set, the soup to stir. Finally, Dad came home. Patrick took his place at the table with Sean and Brennan and Matthew Lee. Dad, Patrick announced after grace, I'm tired of green. Tomorrow, let's not have just green in my parade. Let's have a rainbow parade. Let's have blue and purple and red and yellow for the sun. Your parade? Exclaimed Dad. Dear heart, the parade isn't for you. The brothers poked one another and sniggered. Patrick ignored him. But it's Patrick's Day, he said. You told me it was my day and my parade. Patrick Quinn Murphy, said Mother. We said nothing of the kind. It's St. Patrick's Day. We said you're named for him, for St. Patrick, who brought the word of God to Ireland, who taught with symbols the folk could understand, who, some say, chased all the snakes into the Irish Sea. Green is his color, Ireland's color. The day and the parade honor Ireland's saint, my sweet, not you. The brothers laughed so hard they fell off their chairs. "Now, boys," began Mother. Patrick ran from the house and hid under the spruce tree. Connell snuggled in after him. "It's a fool I am," Patrick cried. "I'm not special at all." He wiped his face on Connell's coat. "And if I'm not special, Connell, maybe I'm just ordinary," he sniffed. "Ordinary is for boys who fool and fuss, who holler and whoop. I never tried being ordinary. I don't know what it's like." He squinted his eyes half shut and made fists of his hands. "Let's find out." Patrick marched into town and sneered at old Flynn. "I'll never whistle the rising of the moon again," he yelled. "It's dumb." Old Flynn was so surprised he forgot to close his mouth. Patrick kicked at Mrs. Moran's fat tabby Mab. He missed and tried again. Mrs. Moran was so surprised she forgot to be angry. Mean old Mrs. Fitzgibbon hobbled by and nodded to him. "It's an old witch that you are," Patrick shouted. He jammed his thumbs in his ears, waggled his fingers, and stuck out his tongue. Mean old Mrs. Fitzgibbon was so surprised she never noticed a tear slipping down her cheek. Patrick trudged home, Connell dragged behind. He hung his head and tucked in his tail. "If you're that ashamed of ordinary me," yelled Patrick, "let someone special be getting your supper." Patrick burrowed into the dark under the spruce tree. People went in and out of his house. O'Flynn brought Mrs. O'Flynn, Mrs. Moran. Mab, on her shoulder, marched behind Mr. Moran and Mr. Solomon from the shop next door. Mean old Mrs. Fitzgibbon limped in just in front of most of the rest of town. Frowning, they went in. Smiling, they came out. Except for Mrs. Fitzgibbon, of course, but she swung her cane snappily. "They know," said Patrick. "Sean's told them everybody knows how dumb I am, dumb and ordinary." He hunched his shoulders and tried to be smaller. The sun slipped down behind the far hills. "Patrick," Mother called, "it's time to be helping with the dishes." "Ha," said Patrick, "I won't. If you're not special, you don't have to help." A little piece of moon peeped over the rim of the world. "Patrick," Mother called, "it's time to be taking your bath and coming to bed." "Ha," said Patrick under the spruce tree, "I won't ever go to bed again." The front door closed with a final sounding click. "I'm not special," said Patrick, holding on to his mad. "Ordinary boys don't have to be so very good." Somewhere a dog howled. The night wind shooshed. Boughs of spruce whispered and pulled at his hair. "It's very big out here," whispered Patrick. Something dark flapped and shrieked. Patrick ran through the yard, up the stairs, and into his room. He dived for his bed. It was warm. Connell whined and snuggled against him. "I'm very sorry, Connell," Patrick whispered. "Even if I'm not special, you are." Connell licked his face, and Patrick thought about Mother and O'Flynn. He thought about mean old Mrs. Fitzgibbon and that one tear on her cheek. "Connell," he said, "I don't like being ordinary. It makes me feel awful." Connell squirmed. "Maybe I don't have to be so very ordinary. Maybe I can just be me. The moon slid down the sky, and the sun peered over the rim of the world. Patrick and Connell slipped out of the house. It's glad I am you're coming with me, Connell. It's hard being brave if you're only ordinary. The first stop was O'Flynn's. The Rising of the Moon is a fine song, Patrick said, and he whistled his way through it there and then. I need a little fish, please, he said when he was done. He hurried on to Mrs. Moran's. It's very mean I was, he said. I've brought a fish for your fat tabby Mab. At mean old Mrs. Fitzgibbon's, Connell sat down by the gate. Mrs. Fitzgibbon, said Patrick, I'm sorry I made you cry. Will you be my friend again? Mrs. Fitzgibbon didn't smile, but she winked and sent him on his way. At home, everyone was eating breakfast. It's truly sorry I am, said Patrick. I didn't know I'm just an ordinary boy, but I promise I won't ever be so very ordinary again. Be eating your porridge, our special one, said Dad. I'm not special, said Patrick. I'm just me. Patrick cleared the table and wiped the dishes for Matthew Lee. From down in the town he heard the bagpipes and drums. It was time for the big parade. I don't want to go, he whispered to Connell. It won't be the same. But even if you're ordinary, there are certain things you have to do, whether you want to or not. And he trailed behind Mother and Dad. Hurry, called O'Flynn. Here it comes. Listen to the pipes, cried Mrs. Moran. Mean old Mrs. Fitzgibbon beat time with her cane. First came a proud green banner. Great gold letters spelled out Annual St. Patrick's Day Parade. Ooh, said Patrick, I never saw that before. Another banner was next, as blue as mid-spring sky. It read, First Patrick's Day Parade. Everyone cheered. Connell barked, Mab meowed. But I'm only me, Patrick cried. That's true, said mean old Mrs. Fitzgibbon. But to all of us, Patrick Quinn Murphy, you're a very special me. And she smiled right then and there for everyone to see. Mother hugged him tight. Sean and Brennan and Matthew Lee winked and lifted him high. You're missing the parade, Dad yelled over the drums tattoo. It isn't all green this year. And it wasn't, for on that fine St. Patrick's Day, a rainbow marched through town. There we go. Did you like that story? That was a really special one that we got when Patrick was a little boy, and I hope you all liked it too. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Love you so much. Bye.